Every week, a lot happens in Parliament. Debates rage, bills are discussed, and laws are introduced. So it's easy to feel like you don't quite know what's going on in the chamber. So we're lifting the lid and telling you exactly what happened this week in Parliament. This week, we saw Hancock reply to allegations set out by Dominic Cummings and a debate about self-driving cars. In the first story this week, we take a look at the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, Matt Hancock's reply to some quite serious allegations made against him by the Prime Minister's former advisor, Dominic Cummings. In a marathon appearance before the Commons Science and Technology Committee, Cummings point-blank alleged that Hancock had lied on multiple occasions and should have been fired. We actually made a full video on Cummings' appearance before the committee, and that is linked in the description. Anyway, back to Hancock and the Commons. In the light of the Cummings allegations, the Shadow Secretary of State, Jonathan Ashworth, put forward an urgent question on the government's handling of the outbreak and his department's level of preparedness. A question which was accepted by the Speaker, but not before a somewhat unique interjection.
Before I call Jonathan Ashworth to ask his urgent question, I want to remind the House that Erskine May states that good temper and moderation are the characteristics of the parliamentary language. While the context in which particular phrase is used is important, Erskine May also says that there are certain expressions which, when used in respect of other members, are regarded with particular seriousness, generally leading to prompt intervention from the Chair and often requires on the member to withdraw the words. One example is making a charge of uttering a deliberate falsehood. In other words, members should not accuse other members of lying. Depending on the context, it may well be in order to quote the views of others, but members should not themselves state or imply that other members are lying. There are ways in such issues can be debated in the House by means of a substantive motion, but not part of an urgent question.
In essence, the House has quite strict rules on language and what you can reasonably say about another member. If you cast your minds back somewhat to spring of 2016, you may remember the Dodgy Dave incident, when, in the aftermath of the Panama Papers scandal, Labour MP Dennis Skinner called then Prime Minister David Cameron Dodgy Dave.
Maybe Dodgy Dave will answer it now.
The Speaker, TLDR fan favourite John Bercow,
Order!
promptly asked Skinner to withdraw the remark for not being in keeping with the House's customs and rules.
I don't require any assistance from some junior minister. An absurd proposition. I invite the honourable gentleman to withdraw that adjective that he used a moment ago. He's perfectly capable of asking his question without using that word,
causing him to be kicked out of the chamber.
This man has done more to divide this nation than anybody else. He's looked after his own pocket. I still refer to him as Dodgy Dave. Under the power given to me by Standing Order number 43, I order the honourable member to withdraw immediately from the House for the remainder of this day's sitting.
Anyway, following Cummings' allegations that Hancock was a liar, the Speaker made clear that members should tread carefully. Responding to the initial allegations, Hancock had this to say.
These allegations that were put yesterday and repeated by the Right Honourable Gentleman are serious allegations, and I welcome the opportunity to come to the House to put formally on the record that these unsubstantiated allegations around honesty are not true, and that I've been straight with people in public and in private throughout. Every day since I began working on the response to this pandemic last January, I've got up each morning and asked, what must I do to protect life? We've taken an approach of openness, transparency, and explanation of both what we know and of what we don't know. I was looking at it this morning. Since last January, I've attended this House, Mr. Speaker, over 60 times. With the Prime Minister, we have together hosted 84 press conferences. I've answered 2,667 contributions to this House, and answered questions from colleagues, the media and the public. And we'll keep on with this spirit of openness and transparency throughout. Now, sometimes what we've had to say hasn't been easy. We've had to level with people when it's been tough, when things have been going in the wrong direction. And also, we have learned throughout. We've applied that learning both to tackling this pandemic and making sure that we're as well prepared in the future as possible.
The former Health Secretary and Chair of the Health and Social Care Select Committee, Jeremy Hunt, quickly came to Hancock's defence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House should know that when at yesterday's joint Select Committee hearing serious allegations were made, we asked for evidence to be provided, and until such evidence is provided, those allegations should be treated as unproven. In the meantime, we are in the midst of a pandemic, and we need the Health Secretary to be doing his job with his customary energy and commitment.
Although not everyone came to Hancock's side.
But I am sure that I speak for the country when I say that we cannot forgive tens of thousands of people who died and didn't need to die. The chilling words of Dominic Cumming. Will the Secretary of State tell me when will the Prime Minister and others be investigated by the police for alleged corporate manslaughter?
Quite the opposite of putting a shield around them, we sent people with COVID back to the care homes. These were the words of the Prime Minister's former chief advisor yesterday. If true, this is one of the biggest scandals and tragedies of the pandemic. Will he apologise to the tens of thousands of bereaved family members whose relatives died in care homes?
Reference was also made to Hancock's interview with the media, an interview where he quite literally ran away.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday's revelations have only served to reinforce what many have suspected. A tale of chaos, deception, dishonesty and failure, including the reckless suggestion of herd immunity and chickenpox parties. While so many watched aghast, the Secretary of State chose to respond to these very serious allegations by claiming he had been too busy saving lives to even bother. My enduring memory of the Secretary of State yesterday will be of him quite literally running away from his responsibilities.
Get out there and get your vaccine.
Policy, Mr. Hancock. Are you worried about Dominic Cummings giving evidence today, Mr. Hancock?
Whether Hancock's days are now numbered is anyone's guess. In the second story of This Week in Parliament, we move to a Westminster Hall debate about self-driving cars. Because on Wednesday, Ben Everett brought forward a debate in Westminster Hall on the topic, and the potential for self-driving cars to be on the road by the end of the year. In opening the debate, he made clear that similar technology was already being used in his constituency of Milton Keynes North.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hook. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship and to have the privilege in calling this important debate on the future of driverless cars. Milton Keynes, we're familiar with the sight of robots roaming our city as they bring the food deliveries to almost 200,000 residents.
Before moving on, it's worth actually looking at footage of these, as they demonstrate driverless technology already being used on the streets of Britain, albeit on a much, much smaller scale than you're probably imagining. One of the first points raised in the debate was whether driverless cars would create a sort of Terminator-style future. Hopefully this question was meant in jest.
I will certainly give way. Yeah.
Obviously, being a keen follower of my honourable friend, I've seen many of his tweets and followed many of his speeches, and we all know too well the fears of Judgment Day. Seeing the robots on the streets of Milton Keynes actually being fed by children, how do we know that the robots themselves won't bite back and will actually be safe for everyone involved?
The debate then moves on from, let's call it, unrealistic fears of new technology to some of the potential upsides from introducing driverless cars, which are referred to as connected autonomous vehicles, or CAVs.
CAV technology has the potential to remove the cause of over 85% of road traffic accidents that are down to driver error. So let's break that down. That is 47,000 serious accidents that happen when you to the shops, when you go to work, when you go out on the school run. If we break that down further, that has the potential to save 3,900 lives over the next decade.
Eventually, the minister responded, laying out exactly how driverless cars would be implemented.
So our code of practice for trialling automated vehicles on public roads says that there must be a safety driver who is ready to take control if needed. That means that the technology can be tested in a way that ensures safety and responsibility. And when highly automated driving technology is ready for public use, we must have a way to check that the vehicles are safe and secure by design, not only for passengers but also for all road users.
So, while many of the MPs participating in this debate seem to support the idea of driverless cars on the road, what do you think of their practicalities? And does the government really seem to be taking safety seriously? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to be updated with what happens in Parliament next week, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that's in the description.